So I've always been a fairly skinny guy, and I used to be super dedicated to my training when I race full time. But when I go and ride with friends, some of them are larger, and it always looks to me like they're working much harder. Yes, they might not have as much time to train as I do, but just how much difference does weight make to how hard you have to work? So today I'm going to try and put it to the test, see if the bigger riders actually do have to work harder and how much. So I'm on my cross-country bike, I've got my heart rate monitor on, I've also got a power meter so I can see exactly how hard I'm working, and I'm going to ride a cross-country loop. So split it into two. The first bit is a climb, a bit undulating, single track up and down, but getting to the top of the hill, I'm presuming that's going to be harder. And then going down a long undulating descent on a cross-country loop again. Is the extra weight going to give me more momentum, but how much harder am I going to have to work going downhill? Let's put it to the test. Okay, so time for test one. Just to my normal weight, I'm going to go pretty hard. Try and ride at my sort of FTP, so about 270 watts going through the power cranks and about 170 BPMs heart rate. That's something that I know I can sustain for about an hour, so it's a good fast pace, but I can do it twice definitely. So right, time to go. It's gonna be hard work. It's a steep little climb, averaging about 400 watts now for about a minute. So I'm up to 175 BPM. My max heart rate is 185. That's pretty hard. Now, turning on to a long, flat drag around Fire Road, and then the final bit, punch climb up to the top. Right, test one done. Time for some refreshments. Whew, cake was good. Too good, maybe. Feel pretty full. Test two, I feel very heavy. It's crazy how much difference it feels like. It feels way more than 15 kilograms. I think my poor little carbon cross-country bike is going to take a battering, as are my heart and lungs, so let's get ready to go. Let's do it. It already feels like I'm having to get in an easier gear than I did last time. To try and drag my ass up these hills. My heart rate feels like it's going already. Right, so that's the test done. Time to ditch my bulletproof vest. I don't think I need that anymore. Back to the shed for the data. Right, so I have some results. I did the test yesterday and my legs are feeling pretty tired, to be honest. So let's look at the times. Let's start off with the climbing. So I was 2 minutes 11 seconds slower with the heavy weight, which I guess is to be expected. But I actually think things start to get interesting when I start to look at my power and my heart rate. So my power actually dropped. So with the heavier weight, I put out 13 watts less average. My maximum power was almost 100 watts less with the heavier weight, and therefore my normalized power was also 6 watts lower. And that is sort of the opposite to what I expected. I thought with the heavier weight on, I thought my heart rate would probably stay about the same, but my max power, all my powers would go up because I'm having to power that weight a bit harder. But actually the powers dropped and my heart rate went up. So my average heart rate went up to 163 from 159 without the weights. Heart rate maximum was up to 176 with the weight, so that's 95% of my max. So I was obviously working super hard. The calories burnt 311 compared to 265 without the weight. So you definitely have to work a lot harder and it's a lot slower with those weights. Things get super interesting when you start to look at the max powers. So what I could put out for 3 seconds or 5 minutes. And I am going to do a geek version of this video, so I'll go way more into numbers on that. But my powers, my max powers are much higher on the heavier, with the heavy weight on. So my max power for 3 seconds was 657 compared to 548 without the weights. So they're all a lot higher until it comes to the 5 minute max power. That was a lot lower. So I just couldn't sustain the power, which I guess gives you those results. So on the way up, I worked harder and I was much slower with the weights, as expected. On the way down, now things get much closer. It was sort of similar story. So I worked harder, my heart rate was higher, just a little bit. My power was quite a way down, so my max power was 123 watts lower with the weights on. However, the times were much closer. I got within 8 seconds with the weights on that descent. It's quite a long flowing descent with some flatter sort of rolling sections with rollers that you can pump up and over. And I felt with the weight, I was absolutely motoring along on those bits. Just that extra momentum meant that I could really keep my speed going. However, getting that bike up to speed was much harder work, and I think that shows the power. I just couldn't put the power down to get the bike up to speed. However, once I was up to speed, the bike motored on. So, like I say, only 8 seconds difference in the times on the way down. In conclusion, yes, I worked harder and I was slower, but only marginally on the descent. Did have to change my riding. Well, it definitely hurt more with the weight on for the descent. My hands were killing me, my back was starting to kill me. I didn't feel like I got any rest. Even on the descents where I try and stand stiff on a cross-country bike to try and recover a bit, I felt like I was doing a big squat with all that weight, so it was tiring, and that's probably why my average heart rate, even on the descents, was higher. And I definitely spent much more time in the granny ring. I don't think I spent any time without the weights. So I was definitely, feel like I was really grinding away the gears to get up those climbs. Is this a realistic test? Well, with heavier active riders, they kind of scale up. So the muscles deal with the weight a bit better. This test was a bit more like I've sat around for 6 months, drunk too much beer, ate too much cake, and then I've got back on a bike. So I guess it is kind of realistic. Really, the biggest conclusion for me is that things are, like I'm saying, I'm working harder, I'm a bit slower, but really it's the climbing where I'm 2 minutes slower. Going up the hill, that's where the weight really works against you. I've done a geek version of this video as well, so click up there for that one where I get much more detailed about the numbers, but also talk about potentially how much faster you can get by losing a bit of weight. Click down there for Ollie Beckinsale putting me through my paces and trying to get me trained up for an enduro race. Hit that sub button and give us a thumbs up.